Okay, listen to you in.
How's it going, people? Lateness is greatness. I do apologise. We've had loads of people saying, we'll see you. I'll be a little bit late. We got 4 people here. The others are joining us. There's no Tobes tonight, but the other guys will be with us very shortly. Listen, it's the end of the season. The end is near. The end is now. There are a couple of people on the stream that do have a couple of cup finals, which I'm sure we'll mention before tonight is over. But we're going to look back and reminisce and start to rate what we have seen from our teams. And some of us are going to wave a good goodbye to it, to be fair. I can't lie. We're going to do our team of the season, which is very, very interesting. I've got everybody's in, has been votes are in, and there is a confirmed 11. But before we do that, I want to talk about rating seasons as individuals. I'm going to come to each of you. I don't want to know what we all think because we'll be here all night. But let's start with you, Dan, because as a Manchester United fan at the start, you said that you might sneak into top 4 and a lot of people laughed. You never had yourself down to win any trophies from what I can remember. And you're in an FA Cup final, a Carabao Cup is yours, and top 4 is also yours. And to be fair, you got 3rd ahead of Newcastle. I don't think that's a bad season at all, man. So if you rate your season out of 10 and you can do it if you win the FA Cup and if you don't win the FA Cup, or would that change it?
At the moment, as it stands at the moment, I'd go 7 out of 10. I think 7 out of 10. Even if we win the FA Cup, I'm going to stay 7. I think he's had a really strong season, Ten Hag, especially when you think the first couple of games of the season. You know, I was absolutely destroyed on this show. First couple of games of the season, we were absolutely bantered. You know, losing at home, which we've not lost since that game at home, which is phenomenal. You talk about, you know, building a fortress at your home ground. That's what it has been. I think what has damaged United has been the amount of games and the squad they've had. I think he's done very well with what he's had at his disposal. There has been some hiccups, obviously, and there has been some naivety, I think, from him. The Liverpool game, obviously, was naivety. I think the subs he made. You can twerk all you want there, Errol. We know what your rating's going to be, mate. I think there's been naivety. I think there's been issues with obviously not being backed in the January transfer window. Obviously, having to bring back Weghorst in, our Lord and Saviour, who's going to score on Saturday. So it's a 7 out of 10 for me. I'm chuffed to bits. You know, at the start of the season, nobody on this panel gave us a chance of being in top 4. The fact that we finished it, we're in 3rd. We finished 4 points above Newcastle, 8 points above Liverpool. It's a great season for Manchester United. So 7 out of 10 for me, but always room for improvement, as we know.
Listen, Johan in the chat saying it's got to be at least 8 for 2 cups in the Champions League football. Geordie 2 for life. He's saying, come on, Dan, if you win the FA Cup as well, it must be a 9 in his first season. There's a lot of high ratings there for me. But Manchester United have had a good season, there's no doubt. Like, there's been some downs, for sure, man. Like, you've held 6 at Man City, 7 at Liverpool, 4 at Brentford at the start of the season. It's like, what is this Man United side all about? On top of that, somehow you got the clean sheet record and Golden Glove after conceding all them goals. That's how mad of a season it's been. But for me, I think when you look at what Ten Hag has done first season, he's had a lot behind the scenes at Manchester United as well. There's been doubts about ownership, what's happening there. The Ronaldo stuff didn't really help when that was thrown into the mix. But let's be fair, man. Close to a domestic cup double and top 4 is something I didn't expect from Man United. So if I'm a United fan, I'm not crying about this season, even if you lose to City.
The thing is, though, Dan, like, you know, obviously people are quite, you know, they're within their rights to say 9 and all this. But for me, 10 out of 10 is winning the Premier League, winning a couple of cups, you know, like a European Cup.
I agree.
You've got to look at it like that. I can't be sat here giving Man United 8, 9 out of 10. I think
if you win the FA Cup by beating Man City and stopping their treble, that's got to count for something.
It has, yeah. But I don't want to get away with myself, and I think any Manchester United fan at the moment, knowing how driven this Manchester City side are, how relentless they are, we are going to have to be on we are literally going to have to play the best game we've played all season to beat Man City. Man City at the moment, in the mood they're in, I know they've had a draw and they lost against Brentford, but look at the bloody changes they made for those games. Sorry?
They'll switch it on.
Yeah, they will. They will, exactly that. So we have got to be on our absolute A game. Lawless, it's the same with you and Fiorentina. You're going to have to be on your A game. This is... So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm not looking forward to Saturday at all.
Do you know what? I respect that because you leave yourself space for it to grow next season as well. I feel like if you start dishing out the 8s and the 9s and the 10s, respectively, I feel as though he then applies that pressure. I feel like Arteta's almost in that kind of zone where the expectation is now replicate what you've just done the season before, and it becomes very difficult to be able to do that, back-to-back seasons. So I think you're probably in and around the right place there with him, given his first season, to be honest.
Yeah, man, it's interesting because for me, if I'm going with Arsenal this season, 10 is a cup double, like Premier League and cup double or treble. I think 9 is if you can prove that you can actually do that at the end of the season with something that's respectable if you're going for a title race like we have. I think 8 and 7 and 6, you start to look at where we were around the World Cup, thinking, cool, we've had like an 8, 9, 10 out of 10 season so far. And I think it's ended up being in between a 6 or a 7. We're trophyless. We've bottled a league. I can't be excited too much. I can say that we've overachieved because I think we still have. I didn't see us coming second. I didn't see us in a title race. But at the end of it, I'm not going to sit there and get too excited because for me, 8s, 9s, 10s is you're lifting something at the end of it. You're putting
Who's
City.
had the better season then, Dan? Arsenal or United?
I think United have had the better because they've obviously won
United
something and they've qualified for Champions League. I did say there's two different ways. It's like better and successful. What's the matter?
Fucking Martial's out the final on Saturday.
Oh,
Good night, boys. I'm done. I'm done. I can't take this anymore.
That's not a bad thing. I don't rate him, man. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I know, mate, but no. You need players like that. Oh,
well,
the thing is, I think Man United have had a better season because I see Robbie, he's arguing, and he will with his chest that Arsenal had a better season. But when you look at the end of it, you've both got Champions League, except Man United have one trophy and a final.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with the Man United have. If you ask me who's played the better football this season, that's a different question. But who's had the better season in its part
some
Man United?
teams don't play better football by design. So a better football, the start. I think a lot of Arsenal fans would take worse football if it meant they'd win the league. You know what I mean? Or they win something.
Yeah.
Like the football you play, I don't think says if you've had a better season or not. That's immaterial. That's just how a club chooses to play.
I think being in a title race is something. Would you? Let's ask Dan. Would you swap Arsenal's season with Man United's? That answers it.
No, definitely not. No.
There you go then. There you go. So Man United have had the better season.
We're both in the Champions League, aren't we? So it's
second and third is the same, really, and fourth, if I'm honest. I mean, I know a title race is different to coming third miles off of it, I suppose. So we've had more. You've
probably enjoyed your season more than Dan over the course of it. Like you've
probably enjoyed it, but Dan's had. So I tell you what, I've enjoyed the season. Dan's enjoyed a couple of moments of it. There we go. That's the best way to describe it. Who's had the better? I think Man United because they've got the success. But Dan would have enjoyed Wembley. Dan will enjoy Wembley on Saturday if they win, and that will be about it. Because Man United should not be coming outside of the top 4 ever, in my opinion. This is the biggest club in England, apparently. They should be trying to win it every single time, right? So when people say Manchester United are really happy they snuck 4th, like, come on, man. This is Man United, not Everton. Like, this is a huge club. And I think sometimes the standards get dropped massively at these football clubs. Like Manchester United, let's be realistic. No, you've got to be realistic, but actually you've got to remember that it's been how long since they've won a title now? So, people always laugh at Arsenal for 20 years. It's been 10 years now for Manchester United. It was 30 for Liverpool. Like, we need to start raising it and understanding like that we're huge football clubs, man. So that's the way I see it. So if I had to, I'd give it maybe a 6.5, 7, and people might think that's harsh, but I think that's a reality of it. We went into a title race, we come out of everything trophyless again, and we've got nothing to show for it at the end of what's been a nice season of football.
Well, what did you rate last season?
4 or 5.
Something. I think 7 is probably fair. I think 7's probably fair this season for Arsenal. I think that's a fair.
I think Troops give it a 7, and I was kind of with him. I thought, yeah, but then Yardman give it a 5, and Robbie went mental at him. I don't know if you saw that; it was quite funny, man. But there we go. Let's go to Errol, man, because I would say, other than Chelsea and Spurs, probably one of the most disappointing seasons in terms of no trophy and outside of the Champions League, no title race. I remember yourself, Grizz, and a few others at the start of the season tipping Liverpool to nick it off of City this season because he felt that there was too many signings that they'd signed that needed more settling in. And to be fair to you, I would say there was a settling in period for Man City in the first third of the season, but it just didn't continue to be that. So what are you giving Liverpool's season, man, in terms of rating it? Big up, Pete.
Look at those guns.
Apologies, man.
Look at those guns.
Hey, it's John McClane in the house. What's
this is a conversation, mate.
The Black John McClane.
He's John McClane. I'm Hans Gruber, I think, with his beard.
Hans Gruber is a bad man. He's a legend. That's my Christmas special, man. Sorry, apologies that I'm late. A loaded meeting.
That's calm. No problem. No problem, my guy. No problem. Errol, sorry, bro. Go on, man.
No, it's okay. That first game against Fulham, the writing, like, do you know what? Right, like, our season is dovetailed by the first and the last game of the season. You could take out every other game. Yeah, we had some good wins. The Spurs game, the Man U game. Even the Arsenal, the way we came back against Arsenal, beating City. You can look at those games where you handle yourself against the teams in around the Big Six. But you can look at, if you want to paint a picture of Liverpool's season, you can look at that opening fixture and you can look at that curtain close at the end of the season. And that has basically been Liverpool's season in a nutshell for us. If I had to give us a rating out of 10, I can't honestly give higher than a 4. And
wow.
And the reason I can't give higher than a 4 is there's another things. I looked at it in detail the other day in the same way that you've explained it a little bit earlier, Potts, in terms of, your 10s are when you're talking trebles and quadruples, dare you ever say it, your 9s and 8s are when you've got silverware plus your Champions League, you've got an FA Cup or a Carabao. Your 7s are when you've got your Champions League, but you're looking for a run in. And then 6 is anywhere when you just qualified for Europe. And I think I would have definitely considered to give Liverpool more. However, when we knew amongst, the panel around the wider Liverpool fan bases, the Grizzlies of this world, the Redmen TVs, we knew from about October that we was no longer in a title race. At that point in time, the fan base's minds and our eyes and our focus firmly became fixed on qualifying for the Champions League. We had from October until the end of May to put a run of games together to secure us Champions League footy, and we've shown we was incapable to be able to do it.
So you gave up on winning the Champions League, like from that point, you gave up hope of potential because you were still in the Champions League this season.
Yeah, but. Let me finish what I was saying, and then I'll come back to that point. So I when I looked at the video the other day, fucking hell,
I love that.
Big up Miss Potts. No, do you know what?
When I Lewis next.
When I looked at the table the other day, though, someone must have put a graphic up of like where all the teams had been and like bounced from. We never once sat in that top 4 all season. Not for one game week.
That's the thing, Errol. Like when we said earlier, I think it was a few weeks ago. Like you was like, and it's fair enough. You were bantering with Dan and with Pete, saying, "Oh, one of you is going to drop out." I don't know that you actually ever deserve to get top 4.
Boys, I genuinely said that on a number of occasions. We don't, but if we do, I'm a confused because we've been shit. We've been shot. There's no two ways about it. A team that has been this poor does not deserve to be in the top 4. And by teams like Newcastle, where Newcastle had shown that they put the run of games together, they showed that they had that character and that little bit of stability amongst their squad in terms of what he was building going forward. And even Man U, as Dan said, that home form carried them into the top 4 this season. We was dropping home game clangers against teams that we should never, Leeds have gone down. Like, what are we doing? We drew against Southampton, they've gone down. Leeds, they've gone down. We almost threw away against Leicester. Like, all these teams that we failed to put to the sword this season, you can't look at it and say it's been any better than average season for us, given what our ambitions would have been to just qualify for top 4. I said the other day, if we'd have qualified for top 4, I'd have given it a 5. If we'd have pipped Man U to get there, I might have given it a 6 just for that extra little. But it didn't happen. So as a result,
again, Errol, sorry, mate. What did you say? It didn't what?
It didn't happen.
Errol, you'd have given it more than the 6 if you'd have finished with a Man U. You know you would have. Look at him. He knows. He knows this.
Maybe. Who knows? On an alternate timeline, you might see Errol here giving you all shit right now. But right now, I operate in this reality. And this reality, I've got to hold the L. This season, here with Lou, our teams have flopped. We've dropped the bag. We fumbled the
Can I quickly ask?
I'd have loved it if Lou would have gone, the fuck you mean, mate? What do you want about?
I got 40 points, mate.
Can I put this question up? Because me and my dad were talking about this. And I think this had an effect, I know that you've got Diaz and he's injured. I know that you've got Jota and who's the other brother I'm missing? Gakpo and Nunez. But Mane was so underrated, man.
No, I love Sadio Mane. The thing for me in terms of the issue with Sadio Mane leaving, I don't think him leaving at the time he did was a bad thing. I think the issue that we had is the stability that he gave that left-hand side. Our left-hand side has not been, because Thiago has not been fit enough to be a regular placeholder in that Gini Wijnaldum-esque position that we got so accustomed, because he didn't miss a game. I think Gini ended up missing about 3 games, about 5 years for us. So to lose that focal point in your midfield, for Robbo to not have that person in front of him that was so intrinsically on the same wavelength in the same way that Sadio Mane was, that side of our system has been hindered as a result of Mane going. It's not just necessarily been Mane's standard individual quality, because we've still got that level of individual quality without the squad. We've just not been able to assimilate it with the rest of that side of our team. It's how I see it. I don't necessarily think we've undervalued him. I think we understood exactly how crucial he was. But I think even he, if you look at his individual numbers at the moment, especially where he's now playing in the Bayern, I don't think he's had a very good individual season, which goes to show he is a lot stronger playing towards the system than he is being a standout, the one-man show kind of thing.
Errol, with that, and I'm not bantering here, I think this is the thing that, because we've been so used to that Salah, Trent side getting all the glory, they are, doing their bits, that people forgot how well Robbo and Mane worked together. They were unreal. It was the hard work. It was just hard work, wasn't it? It was up and down. So I think you've seen
Robbo's looked worse for it as well.
He has. He's sulked, hasn't he? He's missing his mate. Basically, you can see it because he's not able to do, and he doesn't trust the players who are in front of him now to do it. So I think that's where we've seen Robbo fall off this season a little bit.
100%.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, for me, I will be brutal. I will expect us to step up massively next season. A lot of the fans will. There'll be that pressure and expectation. Dan, you already mentioned it. The levels that Man U, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool aspire to. Go on, sorry.
But Errol, something I was going to ask you quickly, actually, because I've seen it in the news this week, and I've heard obviously what Klopp said about transfers. It's already started. We can't expect the transfers to happen straight away. And I'm thinking, no manager wants to get told that. United are in that position at the moment, and there's no way that Klopp will sit there until 2 or 3 games into pre-season saying, yeah, I'll wait. It's fine. You bring. It's not going to happen. And this is where I think that the tensions might start happening between board and manager now.
Well, I genuinely hope the plan, because we've just got the new football director or whoever that's coming in recent days. To be honest, I literally since that final whistle, I've just went boom, turned off now. Like, give me the transfer window and let things start to bubble away in the background, and I'll start looking back into it. But sometimes you just need those couple of days to just really go away from when you've had a shit season. Sometimes when you had a good season as well, you just thank fuck it's over. But I genuinely feel like there are conversations happening. People are moving places, moving pieces are starting to move into place. And I just hope that, as you've said there, Dan, we don't linger and wait and hold off getting the targets.
We all hope that. We all hope that. And those that do hold.
But in the past, Dan, we've been very shrewd in the business in our transfers. We haven't made a big song and dance about it. I said it about Bellingham. I don't like it. It's too public. Everybody knows his business. Everybody knows what fucking colour drawers he's got on. No one needs to know that information. Liverpool just need to go and buy the guy. If whoever it is, identify him, buy him, and then let me see him hold a shirt and sign the contract. That's all that we need to do. And I think that's the way that we've moved in the past, and we need to replicate that if we want to go forward. Because next season we can't have 2 seasons out of the Champions League. That can't.
Nah, man. 100%. I think with the right recruitment, you could be back though, man. You've been on much better form towards the back end of the season, and I think you just need to sort your midfield and defense out. Sorry, Pete, you look like you're about to come in.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Do you think this is going to be even harder next year to get Champions League football, with Chelsea looking like they could be backing it with Poch? Obviously, Lewis can have his
every season, mate.
Man U potentially getting better. Arsenal going to be there. Because
honestly,
Tottenham are going to be like, we don't know what. Obviously,
West Ham.
I've got to say West Ham.
It's hard because when people say, "Oh, well, who do you think is going to get top 4?"
Say West Ham.
You're gonna, yeah. When you say like, who do you think is going to get top 4? You don't know yet because everyone's going to say who's just got it. You'd be foolish at the moment to think City, Arsenal, Newcastle United will drop out. Who knows if Liverpool and Chelsea are back? Who knows if there's a shock? What the Villa do? What the Brighton do?
Injuries to some of your key players or our key players, so you don't know. But what I will say is, pundits, when we went on to do our madness and was fighting on 4 fronts. Let's just say we was fighting on 4 fronts for a very long time last season. That season, at the start of it, pundits predicted us to have the season we had now. This season at the start, pundits were predicting us to go and do the madness that we did last season, but we didn't, and we flopped. I genuinely think what everyone was saying at the time in terms of looking from the outside, looking into Liverpool, were right. They just had it the wrong way round, just in terms of how we've played it out. And I think now is the biggest test for Liverpool because everybody else is going to level up. Newcastle, we always knew Newcastle were going to start sparking bright at some point. It's happened sooner rather than later. Chelsea have been in a transitional period and they've got the resources to rebuild, new manager. Man U now with a season of Ten Hag's way of thinking. So we knew the level was going to become considerably more difficult. So I think next season, regardless, Liverpool need to be a full, complete outfit that can go game in, game out and take it for the Premier League. That needs to be the key focus. I want us to win the Europa League. I'll say that here right early. I want us to win that, take that competition seriously. If we're in it, I want us to win it. However, the Premier League needs to be the pinnacle for Liverpool next season.
You should win it, to be fair.
Closing that gap on City. They're the only team I'm asked about. Everybody else, respectively, on your days could beat us. But in terms of putting that long run ahead of what you need to do, I'm still not convinced. Liverpool at this stage are capable at the moment. Man U are capable, or Arsenal are capable of doing it when it matters, and that's going to be the difference come next season for me.
Fair play, man. Low rating from Errol 4. Talking of low ratings, we're probably going to get another one. Lewis, Chelsea, rating seasons is going to be tough.
He got to the magic 40 points. That's got to
count for something. He stayed up, mate. I suppose is the one positive. Come on, man. In a few minutes, what would you sum up your season as, and what score would you give it, Lewis? I know it's been hard for you, bro.
Oh, I only need one word to describe our season. I don't need to say too much. Just crap, or a bunch of other 4-lettered words. But I don't want you to get demonetized or anything, so I'll leave it at that. It's been terrible. Never thought we were going to make top 4 from the start, but we didn't even make top 10. We didn't even make the top of the bottom half of the table. Got second in that. I guess big up to Crystal Palace and everything. We at least got to 40 points, so I'll give us a 1. But I don't really know what else I could say would even be worth bringing it further up from that. We've been awful. Our form from after Tuchel got sacked would have us 17th. Literally, I think a point off of actually getting relegated. That doesn't deserve anything, so we'll take a 1. Just because we got to 40 points, and that's literally the only reason why.
That is incredible, 17th. But obviously things have moved just in the past, and your future is Mauricio Pochettino, mate. It's been confirmed, obviously. There's a few rumours already of players. I don't know if I'm saying this guy's right from Lisbon. Is it Ugarte? He's one of them
Yeah.
that you're looking at. I don't know. If I'm honest, me and Tobes were asked earlier on Matisse channel about him, and he didn't shine when we played him, or I certainly didn't notice him. But having said that, Arsenal and Lisbon were both shocking in both those games. So I wouldn't take much from that. Tobe said he didn't really recognise him. The one that I did recognise was Marcus Edwards, and Tobe said the same from Lisbon. I didn't really recognise the others, but I'm hearing good things about him. What's your thoughts on Poch's signings in the summer, man? Are you going to be able to be going for Champions League this coming season in Poch's first year at Chelsea?
That'll be the hope, because I want us to compete for top 4 next season. It's too much to demand it because there's too much competition for it. Liverpool, United, Newcastle, maybe Brighton, maybe Spurs. Depending on Arsenal's season, maybe them as well. There's a lot of competition for it.
I understand that, but can you not demand it, because the teams that you've mentioned there all have commitments midweek on some level, whereas you're only going to be playing one game a week. So it's a case of Pochettino figuring out the players early enough that he can trust and sticking with them for as long as possible to get the most out of them, to try and get you as comfortably in that zone and that region on the top of the league as close to Man City as possible, and then hold on to it and build around that. Do you not think?
Yes, but I'd have to see the team first. Right now, there's way too many variables for that. I don't know who's going to stay. I don't know who's going to leave. And that's going to determine like the squad and my confidence in the team as well. So I don't know. If we play at a level where it looks like we should be getting top 4, I could see the target changing and demanding it. But for now, like, I'll take us competing for top 4, and wherever we finish is where we finish, as long as we're in the race for it until the end of the season. And I want a cup. Because we have no midweek, we should be taking the cups a lot more seriously. Play your strongest 11 in those games, and you should get to a final. Whatever happens there is whatever happens. But I want 2 cup finals, and I want us to compete for top 4. And I think if we play our cards right this window, we should be able to do that. Ugarte ticks a lot of boxes for us in terms of a DM. I hope we can get him and Caicedo, but it is asking for a lot to get that and a striker and a goalkeeper. But if we can at least get one of the 3, and we clear out enough players and get everybody fit, we should be in the top 4 race for next season.
I think I'm with Errol. I think you should be demanding that. It's Chelsea, man. Like, you spent a lot of money. You, in my opinion, should be going for titles every year with the way that you're set up and your structure. And now that you've had Todd's money being thrown it around, and you've now got a manager who, let's be fair, is Premier League proven. He isn't proven to win anything. But when you look at it, I think you've got a good manager there, a good coach. And
yeah,
I think you could be expected personally to get through to it. And again, I don't think you're going to hold back on the group recruitment, Lewis. I think you're going to go nuts again, man. So, yeah, a 1 out of 10. Fair play to you, mate. Before I come to Newcastle and Lawless, man, I've got to just touch on Spurs because it would be rude not to. I'm going to give their season 1 or 2. It's been a shambles. Like, they've literally gone out of every competition again with a manager who wins things. They've sent him lunatic crazy in a press conference where he's just flown over to Italy and just turned his phone off. They've got a circus at the top, an absolute clown in Daniel Levy, who's more interested in Formula One tracks. They've basically got Harry Kane chained to a radiator. They've turned Son into a shadow of a player. Kulusevski has dipped. Bensenko has been injured, to be fair. But other than that, they've got an absolute shower of shite. They've spent £60 million on flop of the season, Richarlison. What's actually gone right for Spurs? Like, that is a 1 or 2, Lawless, right?
Well, I don't know. If you ask Tobes, it's a 10 out of 10 because he wanted 8th. He was fucking wanking over 8th. I want 8th. I want to get 8th. He got 8th. He got his precious 8th. So if you ask Tobes, it's a 10 out of 10. Ultimately, it's a shit season that's blown up in their face, and it has massive implications on the rest of their seasons to come because they are banging trouble. Absolutely banging trouble. No manager wants to touch him with a barge pole, we're hearing. Kane, 1 year left on his deal. They don't know whether to keep him or sell him. Apparently, Levy wants to keep him, and which will allow him to go for free next season, which is going to prevent the repeat.
I bet that happens as well, by the way.
The Levy, the guy doesn't have a clue. He does not have a clue. So yeah, it's really is the long-term ramifications of this season for Spurs, losing the manager like Conte and missing out on any type of Europe is huge. So yeah, I mean they got to have
heading for relegation, Lawless. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Malik commented about earlier. He said he saw me say it in a video. I see him, and it wouldn't surprise. If Chelsea can be down in the dumps, and it was only 2, they would have been banging that relegation battle if it wasn't for a few games with Tuchel at the start. Why can't Spurs end up in a relegation battle? Why is Tobe so confident that we'll be fine? And he's thinking they're not competing for no Europa League next season. I'm telling you, it's going to be tough. You know, Kane tried to leave before and had that whole thing when he went golf with Gary Neville and spoke out of turn. We'll see how he acts this season. You know, this summer.
No Europe for Kane's massive, and I think you'll see a different side of Kane. I think this summer, I think Kane wants to be playing in the best competition, doesn't he? And I think, as much as we say he doesn't look like there's much between the eyes there, I think he's a smart boy in that sense. And I think he'll be getting his agents to go straight to Levy and say he ain't staying here. Because look, as much as we hate to say it, players have power now. The players do have the power. I know we say that he's tight and Levy won't have it, but I think Kane will force his way out. I honestly do.
I'd be shocked. Like, to be fair, I've saw reports today that are saying that Harry Kane is considering staying at Tottenham. I'm sorry, he is an absolute madman if he stays at Tottenham this season. Absolute madman. And you know what? It opens up a move for it. I was convinced earlier on in the season that he was going to go to Bayern Munich because the Mane move didn't work out there, and they need a frontline striker with Lewandowski going to Barcelona. Actually, with Benzema now potentially moving to Saudi Arabia, which it looks like is going to happen, that looks like the perfect move for him. He has to go. But there seems, with Harry Kane, this obsession to get this Alan Shearer's record of goal scoring in the Premier League. Winning trophies should be more important to you than anything else. And I'm sorry, Tottenham have not shown that they're in any position whatsoever of winning trophies. And the fact, you know, look, Tobes has his reasons for them wanting to finish safe and not getting into Europe and all the rest of it. But I'm sorry, this is the worst season ever to not get European football, because what you're doing is hampering your position of potentially getting European football for the seasons going on. As is what's already said, you've got the big teams that are going to be coming back. Errol with Liverpool, Lewis with Chelsea. You've got Villa that are playing European football this season that are going to strengthen heavily. Brighton, there's no doubt about it. You know, as much as people might disagree with this, West Ham will be back in some way, shape, or form. Certainly,
we'll be back.
Well, okay.
Back where we belong.
Hold on. Let me answer this. West Ham will be back in some way, shape, or form, in my opinion, in the top half of the table. Where they are, I don't know, but they will be in that conversation in the top half of the table. Whether they're 10th, 9th, 8th, I don't know. But what I'm saying to you is that at this point now, this is the worst position to be in for Tottenham.
You're talking
because and I go back to it, and the point that I wanted to make initially is this is not as bad, Daniel Levy at Tottenham, but it reminds me so much of Newcastle under Mike Ashley. And the reason being is because every manager and every player knew what Mike Ashley was about and didn't want to touch us with the barge pole. They knew that Mike Ashley, that if they were to become manager of Newcastle United, they'd get fuck all money and they'd get fuck all backing in the transfer market for whatever player they wanted, right? And so they knew to stay well away from Newcastle. Players knew that they weren't going to get wages, they weren't going to get money, they weren't going to get anything beneficial by coming to Newcastle. So they stayed well away. Top players and top managers, and you've already seen it, with managers that have already walked away from Tottenham in negotiations, that they look at Daniel Levy and think they're not going to get the money to invest. If Antonio Conte, that's won trophies all around the place over the years, can't make Tottenham a viable option of being successful at the top end of the Premier League, what chance have I got? So they're not even going to consider Tottenham Hotspur. And if they don't consider it as a management, what player is going to consider going to Tottenham, knowing that, and more importantly, knowing that their best player ever to play for Tottenham Hotspur in Harry Kane is going to leave? What's going to make them want to go and play for Tottenham Hotspur? That for me is a big thing. So all of those things are happening for Tottenham Hotspur in the season that Villa are making progress, Brighton are making progress. You can even throw the likes of Newcastle, Brentford, Fulham have made progress this season. Who's to say they're not going to reinvest and be better? Not a great time to be Tottenham.
I hope everything you say is right. They're a finished club, man. It's beautiful. Let's move and not give them much more airtime. That's how shambolic they've been. Lawless, you can do yours, but before and after, because obviously without the Europa Conference League, you'll give it a rating, and then if you win it, what would you rate it?
Mm-hmm. Well, if we don't win it, it's got to be like a 3.
A 3?
Nah, well, I mean, the fact that we've got to you give it some points for getting to a final. You know what I mean? Like, getting to a final counts for something. But other than that, yeah, it's a 2 or 3. It's been an absolutely miserable, abysmal season. And it's weird because a lot of fans, it's like this very, very short memories of like acting as if it's just been this great season. It's been good all the time, and using their hindsight to come out and say, oh yeah, look, you doubted Moyes, you doubted this. And no, like when we was in there and we hadn't won, like we'd won like one game in, I don't know, like 3 months or something like that. You know what I mean? The away form, it's been shocking, and the actual football we've had to watch for most of the season has been shit. I know, like I said to you, Potts, you know, when it comes to ratings, do you count football in it? I think if you're losing and playing shit football, that's unacceptable. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the very least, you got to have some sort of trade-off. If you're going to be shit, at least be entertained. Like, I remember watching our football under Zola. We didn't win loads of games, but listen, I loved it. We played great football under Zola. But now we play shit football and lose. So, yeah, it's got to be low, 2, 3s, got to a final. Chances are, if we win it, changes everything because we get a trophy, we qualify for Europa League. That's got to be like a 7, 8-ish for the achievement. You got to take off points for being in that relegation battle. So, yeah, European qualification, trophy, in relation to West Ham, 7, 8. I'm going to feel like a 10. I'm going to feel like a 2100 after that.
It goes from a 2 or a 3 to an 8 if you win it.
Yeah, because that's our season. It's literally, without that trophy, it's shit. It's pointless. Everything was a massive waste of time, and we've achieved nothing, and we're out of Europe.
7's fair. 7's fair because Europa League for West Ham's massive. Like, I never.
Yeah, it's a 3rd season in a row in Europe, right? We're going to be in the Europa League. It's going to help us with our recruitment in the summer. And yeah, we've got a trophy. We've got something that we can see. We've won the trophy. We've won a final. We've got something to put in the cabinet. We've got something over Spurs. Yeah, man, I'm going to be loving it. Like, that is everything. Like, we have to win that. If we lose that, it's going to even feel worse. It's going to feel like a 1 or something because you're going to feel down in the dumps. But yeah, like
10 if you win it, or 1 if you don't. There you go. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, look, so see, this is what we got. That's how you know it's going to be great because we've got people praying we lose. People praying. Yeah, praying to all the gods.
We did our predictions on Matisse channel. Tobes didn't want to even give a score. He's like, Fiorentina will win. It's like, what's the score going to be? Fiorentina will win.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly,
he didn't want to say it, did he? But there we go. He really will be like mudded if you win that.
He won't be able to run or hide. And listen, that little weasel, sent me my £100 that he owes me through bank transfer when we agreed that he was going to hand it to me. He was going to film it. He was going to hand me my £100 on camera. He sent it to me via quietly like, "Oh, what's your bank details? I don't want to give you the satisfaction. Do you want
Lawless, I was going to do the same thing, and I thought, no, I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of saying anything on live, so I'll just wait.
He's a weasel.
Lawless, do you not think that this is all like it's building up for the fairy tale as well? You know, Nobes is obviously going to be there. His first season away from playing. Declan Rice, it's no secret. It looks like he's definitely going. Is this the fairy tale? That's what it looks like to me. It just seems like it's pointing that way now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's almost like, you know, it's meant to be, as the commentator said when we beat Man United 3-2 in the last game at Upton Park. Like, that was like, it was written. It was written for that to happen, and all the pieces now are in place, you know, and Rice is desperate to win this trophy for West Ham. Honestly, it's massive. It's absolutely massive.
Just quickly, Lourdes, before we move to Newcastle, lastly, 95 million Bayern Munich. Is that serious? Is that just a start of a bidding war? 3 other clubs interested, Arsenal being one of them. What is this? Just the start of a long summer?
Fuck those other clubs. Take the 95 from Bayern straight away. I don't care. Just take it. Snatch their hand off. Send him to Germany with our thanks. If he does that, I've already said on Twitter, I'm buying a Bayern top. I'm getting Rice 41 if he keeps his 41 on the back of my Bayern top. Let's do it.
He's come out and said that he'll always have that, hasn't he? He's come out and said he'll always wear 41 if he can for club football.
Yeah, pretty much. He's pretty much, he'll most likely keep the 41.
Do you think he's going Bayern? You think he's going Bayern now? That's it. Done.
I don't think it's set in stone. Like, I think it'll be, like I said, the fans would take that deal in a heartbeat. Now, what the club do, you know, they might want to try and milk it for all it's worth. Apparently, I saw that Rice met with the Bayern director of football and Tuchel and all of that in London recently. I don't know how this shit goes on, like without. I mean, the club maybe allowed it, but our season's not even fucking over yet. We still got games.
Who remembers the old tapping up days, eh? They've just gone out the window.
Ashley Cole, well, they tapped him up, and then that's 2006, and that happens every week.
It's a similar situation. It's a similar situation with Harry Kane, though, is that the English club, obviously with West Ham, I think they'd be more than happy for him to go abroad. That obviously makes the blow a little bit like less.
Do you think it matters to the player though, Pete? Like, so if Rice and Kane went Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, I'm not saying they're never going to get in the England side, but do you remember like Owen Hargreaves of this world that went out there? Is that like gone now? Because like Jadon Sancho, Jude Bellingham, they've all now getting in the England squad. So does it matter if they go elsewhere? Is what I'm getting.
It's gone now. And look, if he goes to Bayern Munich,
unless
he's picking up titles, he's getting to the last stage of the Champions League. If anything, it puts him on another kind of level in terms of his performance.
And he's still got to move in him after that as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're right, Lewis.
Because of his age, you know what I mean? Say he signs a 4-year deal with Bayern, in 3 years, they might look to sell him, you know what I mean? Because they have 1 year left on his deal. And then he's 27. Potentially, if he wants to move back to the Premier League, if Chelsea got their act together, or we got our Qatari owners and we say, come back, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
What's he, 25 now? 25?
24.
24? So you could give him a 5-year deal and he comes back to England at 29 in his prime and plays for whichever club wants to take him at that point. Like, for me, I think for both of them, I think it's a nailed-on deal. I don't think it's about money if he goes abroad. I think West Ham and Tottenham for Kane would take a lesser deal to ensure that they go abroad rather than stay in this country, because I think it hurts those clubs that are selling them a lot more by selling them to another English club.
Does anyone not see him going Bayern? Does anyone not see him going Bayern Munich?
I mean, it just depends. If you're not, honestly, I keep saying it. If United get the Qatari owners, I think it's going to be a mad one at United. Honestly, I really do.
There's not many bigger clubs
to try and keep that record.
Yeah, Kane. Kane. That's the one thing in it. On Kane, Rice is a different story. Kane, probably wants to stay in England for the record, the Premier League record.
Unless, like Pete says, Real Madrid, you can't say no to Real Madrid when they come in.
Trophies are more important than records, man.
Yeah.
I'm with that. Exactly. Otherwise, he might as well stay at Spurs and he'll smash that record.
You know why I don't agree with that statement, Pete? Because if trophies meant that much, he'd have left Spurs ages ago. And that's not me having a dig. He'd have left a while ago.
I think
he was locked in a contract where he couldn't leave. And for the amount of money that Daniel Levy was going to ask for him, deep in if you're 4 or 5 years or even 2 or 3 years into a contract, the amount of money that Daniel Levy is going to ask for you, it's not even viable to any other club out there. He's had to wait until he's got 1 year left to even consider. He should have gone to Man City. He should have gone to Man City 2 years ago. He didn't. And the reason being is because they couldn't afford the money that they were willing, that Tottenham were willing to accept for him.
I think it's more loyalty, Pete. I think it's more loyalty. Players now can do what the fuck they want. They really can. They can do what the hell they want.
He went back a week late for training. He was clearly.
I think he wanted to go back then. I think he wanted to go there. Yeah, I think he did.
He clearly wasn't happy.
Before that, I think he believed they would challenge. I think.
He signed a 6-year contract, so obviously he knew he was definitely going to stay. Man.
Obviously, they reached the Champions League final.
Yeah, was that that?
Yeah, they reached the final, and he thought, "Wow, this is the club for me." But listen, man, let's move from Kane. We've spoken enough. We've spoken enough on Kane. Pete, we got to let you get in, man, because I'm expecting a fairly high score from you from Newcastle's point of view, man. So, how would you rate the season?
Yeah, it's easy for me. It's a 9. The only time you'd ever give it a 10 is if we won a trophy or was.
If you would have won the League Cup, you would have given it a 10, yeah.
Yeah,
not the FA Cup.
Not the FA Cup. It'd have been a 4 if they'd have won the FA Cup.
No, it would have been a 10 if we'd have won the FA Cup. Do I think the FA Cup is what it was? No, and I've said it.
I'm going to miss this.
You guys will always try and get at me. I'm
going to miss this. Pete, I'm going to miss this in the summer, the FA Cup talk. I can't wait for the FA Cup next season.
Look, I'd have given it a 10 if we'd have won the FA Cup, League, whatever it was, because it would have been a trophy. But you know what? Even now, Newcastle fans have been absolutely. I was at Stamford Bridge on Sunday, and Lewis, I don't know if you were there, but it was party time for us. It honestly,
you guys had a great away end.
Yeah, honestly, one of the best away ends I've ever been in. We just had an absolute party. Champions League talk, singing, dancing. We are where we never ever thought we would be after just over a year of being owned by our new owners. It has to be a 9. Eddie Howe has done an amazing job. These boys getting Champions League with the likes of Jacob Murphy, Sean Longstaff, and you go through the list of players.
Dan Burn,
all the rest of it. Finishing 4th in the Premier League with these players, it's just unheard of. None of these players would have even been talked about at Premier League level, let alone a team that would finish 4th in the league. Unbelievable season. So proud of the boys. Is money to be spent? It's been played down in the last 24 hours saying that, we might only have 100, 120 million to spend. Bullshit. We are going to spend a lot more than that. That's for sure. And you know what? We have to, because we have to have a team ready to fight for Europe. But yeah, amazing.
I think 9 is fine. I think 9 is fair, you know. I know Lawrence raised his eyebrows. I think he was half banter, but I think 9 out of 10 Newcastle.
Never expected to be here.
I had them 8th, man, in my predictions. I had them 8th. And I thought that would have been a good season. So to come into the Champions League, come on, man. Eddie Howe took them over in
it has to be a 9.
So what would winning the league be then for Newcastle? That's got to be 11 or 12.
10.
Winning the Carabao on top 4 is a 10.
It would be at least a 10, 11, 12, 13. Put it what you want if we win a trophy or win the league. None of this panel would have ever put us finishing in the top 4 this season. Nobody, not even me. Nobody. I had us finishing anywhere between 10th and 8th. I'd have gone, you know what? Progress from 11th. Great season. Let's build then.
Let me ask you a question, Pete. I'm not trying to put negative energy out there. How will you feel if you don't make it out of the group stage in the Champions League?
I don't. Honestly, I don't care. We're there.
Really?
You do. You do, Pete. You do. You'll be disappointed. You'll be disappointed.
No. You know what? I'll be honest with you. Deadly honest. If we finish 4th in the group, I'd be disappointed. If we don't make it out the group stage and we finish 3rd and we go into the Europa League, I'm okay with that because
you have got that
competition that we can attack as well. We can go at that competition in the later stages.
Think you could win that, Pete? Think you could win that?
Of course we could. With the investment that we're looking at, Dominic Szoboszlai, Maddison, like they're the talks. Apparently, we're talking with Dominic Szoboszlai. He's a top player from RB Leipzig. Like we're looking at some of the players that we're looking at potentially this summer means that we're going to be ready potentially for Champions League football. But if we don't quite get it in terms of getting out the group stage, I genuinely think that we can attack.
You know why I think you'll get through the group stage because of your atmosphere, mate, and your crowd. I think that'll take you through the group stage at least, man. Newcastle.
It depends the group they get, though, innit? It depends.
It does, and I get because they're in the pot 4. I get that.
Low, innit?
But I would honestly not. I would not. I'm going to say it. I think this is not a bad time to go into Champions League, and what I mean by that is how many of the clubs in the Champions League right now are untouchable, no chance of beating them. I don't think there's as many as there used to be. Like I'm not saying that anybody on this panel could just walk in and win the Champions League. But if I'm going into a competition right now, I'm looking at Manchester City, Napoli, who played very good football but couldn't get past the Milan side that finished 5th, whatever they finished. Real Madrid, who, let's be fair, were awful against Man City in the second leg, but can do it at their time. Bayern Munich didn't look much, in my opinion. Who else is there right now? PSG are a bunch of individuals. They can't play as a team. Like right now, who are you looking at going, I don't want them. I do not want them. Man City.
Liverpool aren't even.
You ask any Newcastle fan, we want the best teams out there. We want Madrid. We want PSG.
You can flip that though, Pete. I think there's a lot of teams when that draw comes out that are going to be saying we don't want Newcastle, and I think there will be a lot of clubs that will say that
for the reason that Potts has just said, because of the atmosphere. Like people will, who's in the pot 4? With our atmosphere and with the generation and with the potential players that we could bring in, nobody's going to want to come to Newcastle. So
give me an Arsenal-Newcastle draw. Like, imagine if Newcastle knocked Arsenal out. I'd love to see what Potts has to say then.
Where's that come from? Where's that come from?
Oh, is that the knockout
most
thing?
Random thing to bring up ever? Where's that come from?
Do you know what I will say?
We're putting a scenario out there. You know what I mean? You've been obviously Newcastle's been your second team this season. You've tried to ingratiate yourself to the Newcastle fans. I think we'll see a different side.
By appreciating the way they play.
Imagine if they knock you out.
Do you know what I will say though? You came in here this season, with friendly fire, and I respect it. But you're leaving the season as an op. You have got a target on your back, bro. I'm just letting you know. Hey, friend.
We felt it. We felt it.
I'm warned you from day one.
Especially from you, Errol. We felt it. We can see it coming. We can see it coming a mile away. But this is why the investment in the summer needs to be important, because we know for a fact next season that like you guys experience year upon year, teams will come to you and sit back and say, look, break us down. And we've found that difficult. You look at Leicester, they put 6 players in the 18-yard box and said, break us down. We should have, and we could have won 5-6-0. We didn't. We ended up drawing 0-0. But that's why we need players that can break the lines and make the likes that Man City and Liverpool.
Errol, you've got a challenge, Errol. You've got a challenge here.
Have had in years gone by. You've got those players, the Odegaards, the Salahs and players like that make the difference. That's what we need to do. But it's going to take time.
The mighty win. The mighty win.
That is a brilliant comment. I love that.
Hello? Come over here.
Didn't we have a show where like Errol, Pete, Tobes, and Dan all had like the same background?
Yeah, I'm sure it was. All in the same room. All in the same room.
I'll upgrade next season. I'll try and upgrade next season.
Pete, just quickly on the whole signings thing. This is where I think it is such an important summer for you, especially because just because you can go out there and spend the big money on players doesn't necessarily mean you should. You're gonna be getting rid of a lot of deadwood, I think, aren't you? As you said, there's gonna be a few people going. So not only are you going to be needing to replace them, but you're going to be needing to build a squad capable of all four fronts here. So I think this is going to be a really interesting summer for Newcastle, because we know you can go out and spend
Do you know what's going to be
million and all that?
And to add on to what Dan's just saying there, then as well, in terms of just in terms of Eddie Howe, like you said, Deadwood. But is it right? Is it fair to say that the majority of this squad so far has contributed to get to where you are at now, currently in the Champions League? It becomes very hard to cut ties with players that have helped you almost achieve that goal. So the question to you really is, what's Eddie Howe's loyalty tolerance like going forward? Because that is going to either propel you.
He needs to be ruthless. He needs to be ruthless.
Well, two players that he didn't want to get rid of in January, which might surprise you that he had to, because almost they knew that they needed to leave because they weren't going to get further contracts and money generated. Is one was Chris Wood and the other was John Joe Shelby. He wanted both of them to stay. Those two leaving left us light, but he had to make that decision and he did. The other ones that he's got to make decisions on, and these guys, some of these players might mean nothing to you guys, but mean a lot to him. One was Matt Ritchie. Matt Ritchie is purely a squad player, but he had him at Bournemouth. He's amazing in the background, in the squad, in the changing rooms. He is such a massive influence, not on the pitch, but in the background. But he's
like Scott Carson sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly like that. He barely kicks a ball, but his influence in the squad is massive. He's one of the leaders of they have a leaders meeting. Like the likes of Dan Burn, Trippier, Lascelles, who's club captain, they all meet. He's one of those because he's been here so long. Like, it's players like that contracts are out in the summer that he's going to have to let go. He's going to have to make difficult decisions. The biggest decision he's got to make, honestly, and lots of Newcastle fans think he's going, and so do a lot of the journalists that report on Newcastle, is Alan St-Maximin.
Yeah.
They're convinced.
Get rid of him. Get rid of him.
There is the talk that he's not an Eddie Howe player, and that's been a talk since he came into the club. He hasn't helped himself because he's had injuries. He's missed a lot of football. But what I will say is that, I mean, against Chelsea, I thought he was fantastic, and he was unlucky to not walk away in that game with at least 2 assists. It was down to finish him and let him down. Alan St-Maximin, he
don't score, Lawless. Don't score. He fit right in at West Ham. He don't score.
He turned down a move for AC Milan in January. AC Milan wants
Jesus does.
Alan St-Maximin, if he goes, he'll go to AC Milan. They desperately want him. He turned down the move in January. That will be the big decision that he has to make, because Alan St-Maximin wants to stay at Newcastle. He doesn't want to leave. He turned down AC because he wanted to stay at Newcastle. But at 25 years old, nearly 26, he hasn't got the numbers this season that would warrant him staying at Newcastle. And it's been no secret that we are looking for a goal-scoring left or right winger to come in next season that's at Champions League level. So for me, that is the biggest decision for Eddie Howe. If he makes that, most Newcastle fans want him to stay. They love Alan St-Maximin. So that will be a big call for him more than anything.
I think if the money comes in, you take it, man, and you upgrade. That's what I think. And, like players like Longstaff, Willock, Almiron, Murphy, they might all still have a future at Newcastle, but it won't be in the first team. That's what you got to do now, is look at lifting that. And you can get rid of Lascelles and Richies and Shelby's, all these guys that are going.
Even Fabian Shaw, he's been amazing this season. But we're already looking for a right-sided centre-back to come in, a younger version.
Yeah.
Jean-Claire Todibo, if you know about him, he's at Nice, formerly of Barcelona and Benfica, a really good centre-back. We're looking at bringing him in to push Shaw back as a kind of as a second choice. Ferran Torres, someone just put in Callum, has put in another player that we're looking at, an attacking player that's played at the top level. That's what we're looking at right now.
He's going Villa, mate.
Play, man. Listen, we are going to do a manager of the season and team of the season, but we're going to do it quickly. Otherwise, like the Big Six last night, it will take about 3 hours. So I asked you all to put them in. The results are in. But first of all, let's go for manager of the season. One name you get to pick. put forward, and then we'll count up who's going to get married of the season. Some names, man. De Zerbi, Emery, Howe, Arteta, Pep, O'Neill, Steve Cooper. All these names are being thrown about. Dan, United. Let's start with you, bro. Who are you going with?
Yeah, I'm going to go Howe. I was going to go Emery.
Don't sound like you want to.
It's because I feel like it's the choice everybody needs to make. But I think if you look at not just the season, what he's done to that team has just been unreal. I think he's had to deal with some situations himself this season. Obviously, the Ryan Fraser situation could have made a lot of mess behind the scenes. Dealt with Kai. Is it Gordon? What's his name? Gordon, is it Kai Gordon? I thought he dealt with him quite well. So I think Champions League qualification, regardless of how bad teams have been around for Newcastle, is stunning. So I'll go with Howe.
Fair play, man. I'm going to join you. Eddie Howe is my choice for manager of the season. It will be Pep. He will get it. We know why. But if I had a vote, it would be Eddie Howe. Pete, might as well come to you, seeing as we both voted for you, your guy. I suppose you're going to make it a hat trick.
Yeah, hat trick ball. Eddie
Well,
Howe.
who would you vote for if it weren't Howe, by the way, as well? So obviously Howe is your choice, but I'd be interested to see, obviously, other than Howe, obviously.
If it wasn't Howe, it might seem quite harsh on Pep, to be fair. I love Pep.
Please don't say that.
I fucking love Pep.
Lawless, man.
Hates Arsenal, Lawless. Can't stand him.
Pep's a genius. Obviously being a rival to Alex Ferguson in the early years, certainly in the 90s, you can't not respect what he did. But the only one for me that's rivaling Alex Ferguson is Pep Guardiola. He's an amazing man. I wouldn't put him there. I would actually give it to De Zerbi. I think De Zerbi's done a superb job. If it wasn't Eddie Howe, and I said this, if Eddie Howe didn't get top 4, you'd probably give it to De Zerbi. Or if Villa had finished in Europa League, you'd give it to Unai Emery. But De Zerbi has done such an amazing job for Brighton. First time in Europe. Amazing. That's who I would have given it to if it wasn't for Eddie Howe.
Fair play to you, and I agree. I think he's been exceptional. I think Emery deserves a shout as well for what he's done with Villa, but I think De Zerbi, that's just to take over from what Potter had done, left off, and actually play better with them. Like, for me, they're playing better football than they ever did under Potter for me. So, yeah, it's ridiculous. Errol, who you going for, bro?
De Zerbi deserves it, man. He does. He really does. I think no pre-season, no big budgets to spend, and he's absolutely exceeded any expectations of where I genuinely thought that Brighton would come crashing down to earth after Potter went. He looked like he was the actual key to all of their success for large parts. He looked like he had everyone singing on song, playing the way he needed to play. And when you deep it now, they made Potter look good, a lot of those players, because he wasn't able to go and replicate that with a much more equipped team in Chelsea later on this season. So you've got to give him a mad amount of credit. Obviously, Eddie Howe clearly is going to get a lot of plaudits for his achievements this season. And again, you can't knock what Pep does, but Pep is the mastermind. The way we've said Erling Haaland is a fucking machine and a cyborg, Pep is the brain. He's the brainchild behind it all, and he's just as much as a clone as anybody else, but he's got a personality, so people think he's more human. He's not. He's a freak of nature himself. The way he has those players operating and so bought into his system and the way he does things, it's something that
just a shame he's shit at maths, isn't it?
I don't know.
Did you not see the comment where he said he was a boy when Man United won the treble?
Shit, yeah.
Funny, you dickhead.
Yeah, he was a boy, but you don't know when he felt like he became a man. You know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah, he was at 34.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I'm a man now.
Fair play, man. So Eddie Howe's got 3. Errol going with De Zerbi, which is a good shout, to be fair. Lewis, who you going with, bro? Who's been manager of the year for you?
Super Frank.
No, not Lampard. I'm going to go for Tuchel because he kept my team up. So big up to Tuchel. I know he ain't going to win, but honourable mention.
I love that.
I love it.
Super Tommy.
Love it.
That's class, man. That's class. Who would you not go for? Who would you go for other than Tuchel?
Potter.
Probably would be Eddie Howe because I didn't expect Newcastle to make top 4 either. I thought they'd get top 7, but not 4. But they were looking like they were going to contend for the league at some point. So yeah, he's really overachieved with that squad, and he has even brought in a lot of players as well, which is the maddest part. So yeah, Eddie Howe.
Lawless.
I can't wait for this one.
I'm feeling like it's a shared
Arteta,
one.
right? Don Arsenal TV saying Arteta's shite. He didn't win the league. Is he not going to get a mention? Arteta, he deserves credit, man. I think you're being
He's
harsh.
Going to get a mention. My mention is that Arteta will not be manager of the season for me. Okay. That's the mention I'm giving him. I feel like I want to give it a shared one between Ryan Mason and Antonio Conte. They've done with Tottenham. I'm very grateful to them. I think it's been spectacular, the mess that they've done with that club. So I think they should definitely be in with a shout. But I do have to give it to Pep Guardiola. 3 in a row on the cusp of a treble, overcame 8 points to Arsenal to save us all, to save the league, the rest of the fans from Arsenal winning this league. Thank you, Pep Guardiola. You are manager of the season. We are all grateful.
At least you've admitted.
There's always going to be an Arsenal spin on it. There's always going to be
always. You can't. He's obsessed with us. Can't get us out of his head.
At least come on, like everyone, they would have been insufferable. Like they would have been after that.
At least you're admitting that you were worried. You were really worried. At least you've admitted you were really worried.
Lot, yeah, after the Wolves game, right? You was all down in the dumps up to that. You beat Wolves 5-0. All of a sudden, this team could go again next season. It's our season. Kroenke, you gave us some money, but you got to give us some more money now. We go there. We'll go to Tottenham. We'll go to Chelsea. We'll go to Liverpool. We're going to do it. Yeah, we're going to do this. If my name isn't Dan Potts, come on, Kroenke. You haven't given us enough money. Hey, big speeches. Yeah, after beating Wolves 5-0.
Nothing wrong with keeping the faith, man.
Flip, flop.
Coming from a West Ham fan, this is quite funny to be fair. So you're giving it Eddie Howe. You're giving it Eddie Howe. Sorry, no, Pep. You said
Pep Guardiola.
Pep Guardiola. Okay. Guardiola. Eddie Howe. He gets it. Fair play, and deservedly so. Because for me, Pep Guardiola should win the league. Eddie Howe should not be guaranteed winning.
Should he win the treble though? Sorry. Should he do 3?
Well, he hasn't done it yet. If he wins the treble, and it's only Premier League, isn't it? Manager of the year.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's why I will give it to
3 in a row, though, isn't it? That's big.
No, listen, Pep will get it. Pep will get it. I did say that, and he will get it, 100%. Yeah, I must admit, I agree with Bo in the chat. Lawless saying flip flop. He's forgotten about Moyes already.
Bo's fuming, man. He's fuming.
Right, team of the season. The results are in. Goalkeeper. Let's start there. That's normally where we start. 4 votes for one, 3 votes for another. The 2 goalkeepers mentioned, Nick Pope and Alisson. Let's start with Errol and Pete as to why Pope or Alisson should be in team of the season. Errol, start with you.
If it wasn't for Alisson this season, we would have been where Chelsea and where West Ham were, like literally bottom of the barrel, scraping our way out of the relegation zone week in, week out at times. Alisson has been phenomenal. His shot stopping ability and his one-on-one ratio is literally off the chart. It is mad that you've got someone in the hay who got the clean sheets and the Golden Glove not in this conversation. But I think in terms of just pure goalkeeping ability, there isn't a better goalkeeper in the Premier League right now than Alisson. And I think you'd be hard pressed for anybody to try and argue a case for anybody else. I think Nick Pope was a great signing and maybe potentially signing of the season for Newcastle. However, I don't think he's been a better goalkeeper than Alisson. And obviously, Nick Pope gets sent off in the game that we played them as well. So that's just him above.
You can't tarnish him for a whole season for one game. You have
what was he playing?
Pulling out all the shots. Pulling out all the shots.
Alisson hasn't made mistakes this season. Alisson hasn't made mistakes this season.
Not in the Prem. Not in the Prem.
Not in the Prem.
Champions League. Go on, Pete. Come back, Pete. Go on in.
Best defense in the league. That's it. Best defense in the league.
I'm interested to see who voted for who, because you said 3 for. I know who I voted for.
So the 3 votes that Lawless, Pete, and Lewis went for was Pope. So the winner is
Allison
Allison.
got 4. Hang your heads in shame. You got time to change your vote.
So
You got time to change.
Tobes went for Allison, which made it 4-3.
Because he's salty about.
I actually went.
Respect.
I really was close with Pope, but I think Allison. I mean, we are talking Liverpool down in Chelsea's position.
That's the reason I picked him.
Allison has been unreal. He's the only player you can say for me that definitely he is 100% in there in Liverpool's side anyway. So yeah, for me, I went Allison. Pope's been superb.
10 million. Cost 10 million.
Yeah, bargain.
3 million. Relegated to Burnley last season.
It's the bias. They're biased against Sky Sports 6.
Relegated last season with Burnley.
Well, I'm a Newcastle.
How am I meant to be biased? I fucking hate Liverpool.
Newcastle, my second club apparently, but I'm gone for Allison ahead of
Pope. Fake Man United fan. Fake Man United.
Right back. Let's move to right back.
Come on, Meslier. Come on, man. That guy.
Meslier. Jeez, really?
Come on.
I think he's being sarcastic. A lot of people going for Pope. A lot of people going for Allison. I think it's between them two. David Raya, fair mention. But yeah, for me, Allison. Right back was interesting. I went for Ben White and Lewis went for Kyle Walker. Everybody else went for Trippier. So Trippier's won it. I don't think there's much of a mention. I think Ben White, I've gone for him because I just think he's been unreal this season. I think defensively he's been better than Trippier, but Trippier wins it going forward. I think Ben White, to be fair, has been good going forward this season, but Trippier, I think with his leadership qualities at Newcastle and what he's done, I think has been superb. So I'm not gonna unreal. Say again.
Defensively been good too.
Yeah, I'm meaning Ben White. I was talking about Trippier has been class this year, but that's the reason I went for Ben White. But yeah, man, Trippier, I'm not going to argue, he's not been good. He's been class, man.
Love Kyle Walker. He's been on
33 as well. Pockets.
Kyle Walker. I don't know though. Kyle Walker has not played every single game like Trippier has and Ben White has. So I'm going to say them two ahead of him. But yeah, I'm happy to concede Trippier. He wins that. So Allison in goal, Trippier at right back. Left back is an interesting one. I can't remember who went for who now, but I've got 2 names here other than one. I've got 4 of one. The other 2 names mentioned, Estupinian has been mentioned by Errol, and Akanji as well, which I think was by Lewis. No, it was Akanji. Must have been.
I was Ake.
Lawless.
I was
Ake.
Everybody else went for Ake, who's won it. Ake has been superb, man. Like they lost Zinchenko, they lost Cancelo, and then he just slotted in there, and then has been unbelievable. For me, I thought it was an easy pick. Estupinan deserves a mention. To be fair, I think he's been outstanding. Zinchenko had a really good start to the season with Arsenal and was so pivotal into what we were doing. But for me, Ake's just been ridiculous, man.
Callum put Alex Moreno.
Yeah, he's been great, actually.
He's been outstanding.
He's been immense for Villa. He has, yeah. I agree with that, man. I agree with that. We'll do the partnerships together at the back. Lewis has put Thiago Silva in, which surprised me, but obviously he loves him, and he's the reason that Chelsea have got any respect this season at the back, I suppose. So fair play to you, Lou. John Stones has got one vote, as I mentioned. Sven Botman has got one vote. Gabriel has got one vote. But everybody else has gone. Oh, Alessandro Martinez has got a vote. Ben White has got a vote from Lawless as a centre back.
I put him in there. No, because he's traditionally a centre back. So I thought
he hasn't played there though.
But he is a centre back. So and he has played this season. There's been a couple games.
One game doesn't get him in the team of the season.
Okay, but he is traditionally a centre back, and listen, I had to show that. Listen, we can do that. Sometimes team of the season, you have to shoehorn and move to play. Look at the Sky Sports what they do. Sometimes you have to shimmy a bit. Man. Listen, you have to shimmy sometimes to get a player in. I want to show. Look, I'm not biased against Arsenal. I thought Ben White has been good at right back, but we're putting him in. He's going to be a right-sided centre back.
You're a professional waffler.
As a player. All right, well, get him out there. Listen, I tried to be nice to Arsenal, and this is what I get. This is what I get.
I love the fact that you've just sat here for the last 5 minutes, absolutely battering Arsenal, saying you're so happy that this, and this, and City have saved the league, and you're trying to get one of their players in the fucking 11.
Well, there we go, man.
Ben
Ben White, I did try and put him at right back where he played all season, but Lawless has tried to sneak him in there.
You're ungrateful.
I haven't moaned. I haven't moaned. Everyone else has.
No, but you didn't defend it. You didn't defend it.
Well, it's quite hard to defend it, to be honest, when he's not played there all year. But anyway, the two that have clearly won it are William Saliba and Ruben Diaz. They're the two that everyone has gone for. I think they've got 4 votes each. Been class, both of them. I know a lot of people have mentioned Stones. I don't think Stones does what he does without Diaz next to him. Diaz has been ridiculous, absolutely crazy. And Saliba, we've all seen, as much as I think Gabriel at times has been better, we see what happened when he was out. We missed him massively. So those two get it. Those two have got it, Diaz and Saliba. We move into midfield. This one, to be honest, for me was easy, but for some other people wasn't. Gundogan has got a mention. Bruno Guimaraes, I wonder who picked him. Casemiro, I wonder who picked him.
You just picked the whole Newcastle 11. If you just picked your team.
No, I didn't.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Caicedo got a mention as well. I think that's Errol, who's been class. But everybody else has gone for Rodri. And Rodri, to be fair, deserves it, man. He's been ridiculous. So good.
I did toy with him.
So
I did toy with him and Casemiro. I didn't go Casemiro.
I completely forgot about Rodri. I'm an idiot.
Playing enough games, but Rodri's unreal, man.
I just went with Casemiro just for what he's done.
Same.
United. That was my.
Yeah, you and Lewis went for Casemiro. I think he was out for a third of the season through his suspension. But I'm joking, Dad. He has been class and he has changed. He has changed the way Man United have been in the middle there, because you were a mess before he came in, really. So fair play. But yeah, Rodri, I think, has been better. And no one went for Partey, who I think deserves an honourable mention. I think he's been sensational. The last couple of games, he's dipped.
Leave it out.
But he's been class, man. What you saying?
This is team of the season, not team of the half season.
No. Listen, if it was team of the month, he wouldn't get in it. He was unreal for the majority of the season. Thomas Partey was class, man. Absolute class. Not as good as Rodri. I didn't put him in. I'm just saying he deserves a mention. He's been
Rice. I think was more consistent. Rice hasn't even been shit this season, and I'm just saying I didn't put him in there.
Player, but he ain't been as good as Partey, man, this season.
Shut up, man. Rice is consistent. Well, why are you trying to sign Rice? Why not keep Partey?
Because Granit Xhaka's leaving.
So I play fucking El Nene and Partey.
Play El Nene. Jesus Christ! What are you talking about? Listen, we've done the Rice chat. Okay, Rodri comes in. The other two were easy. I'm just making sure no one else picked anybody other than these two. No, nobody did. Ødegaard and Kevin De Bruyne, everybody's gone for, other than Errol, I think, who put Caicedo. For me, yeah, the pair of them, 15 goals.
Forgot Enzo.
Was the end of the season. Forgot Enzo Fernandez.
So did we.
Yeah, we let that one then once. We let that slip our mind as well, Lou.
Pete forgot Sean Longstaff. How can he forget Longstaff?
No, we had a bit of time out, to be fair, but he's been a crucial part of our midfield.
Pete, do you know who I was going to put in my midfield? And I toyed with it. I was going to put Joe Linton in there because I think he's been fucking stunning this season.
He's a monster.
But then he's played in different positions, and so.
Yeah,
but
he's played stunning. He played left wing or left inside forward.
Deserves his call up to the Brazil squad.
Yeah, called up to Brazil. More than deserved. He's, to be fair, Trippier got player of the season for Newcastle, but a lot of Newcastle fans would have quite easily put Joelinton there. He's been unreal for us this season. Unreal.
Fair play, man. I don't think KDB and Ødegaard can be out of this team of the season for me.
No, I agree.
It's mad. Them two have been crazy. But now it gets interesting. Up top is obvious. You might as well tell everybody. Haaland has won it. However, I've got to ask Dan United, who did not put Haaland in his side.
Oh my God.
He went for Harry Kane ahead of Haaland. So Dan, talk to me, man.
I went for Harry Kane because you expect Haaland to score as many goals as he has in that City side, whereas no. Can I finish?
Jesus didn't. Iheanacho didn't.
Can I finish?
I finished, but we're not.
I went for Kane for a couple of reasons. No, I did. I went for Kane for a couple of reasons. I think this season he's been absolutely stunning in a side that's been absolutely dog shit. 30 goals outscores most of the last few Golden Boot winners. Okay, I think he's been absolutely incredible. For me, I think this has been a great season for Kane because this is the first season he has played every game in the Premier League. I think he's not missed a game through injury, which is massive. He averages a goal every 114 minutes, which in that Spurs side it's not to be fucking messed with. I understand, and as I say, I'm not raging that Haaland gets there. I agree, Haaland has been phenomenal, out of this world, but I just think that what Kane's done in that Spurs side to get 30 goals, when, as we've said all season, he's not had the same connection with Son. Son's not been there. Kulusevski's not been there. He's not had anyone behind him to really. He's been feeding off scraps and doing what he can do best. I think he's been stunning, and I know this isn't me arguing. I honestly think
I'm laughing at Lewis's Mason Mount in the Man United shirt. Listen, Dan, I'll tell you why I respect that, right? I'll tell you 2 reasons why I respect it. 1, you've backed up your opinions as to why you've put them in. And 2, you haven't tried to force both of them in and put one on the bloody left. I hate it when people do that. Like, we're playing 4-3-3. Why are we trying to force people in like 10s and left wings and stuff like that? I've gone for Haaland and everybody else has. But Harry Kane's got another mention from Tobes, who changed the position a little bit.
Of course he has.
I think
he made
Kane
a great argument
unreal.
for Rice being in this team, by the way, Dan United did. He made a great argument because he applied Spurs tax. So if we're applying Spurs tax, them being shit this season and him being so great, then Rice, we have to apply West Ham tax. Now, shit, we've been this season.
Well, Billy agrees. Billy agrees. Says 30 goals for Spurs is greater than 36 from Haaland.
No, but okay. Yeah, but you know what I mean? If we're doing that, then like I said, Rice gets in this team. Rice gets in this team because he's done it in a fucking West Ham side that was battling relegation.
He's not been better than Rodri though, mate. It's his team of the season.
Great numbers, but Rodri should be. Rodri should do that at City. Rodri is Man City, and they've got the bells and whistles and blah blah blah.
You're saying. Okay, I see. What
you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. He's making.
I agree with what you're saying, Lawless. I do, and I think that's why I've gone. That's why I went for Kane, because I think it's just the easy choice to say that Haaland scored 36 goals in 35 games. He's a monster. He's a monster. I just look at it from what Kane's done as an individual. He has literally pulled that Spurs team that could have finished 14th, 15th, I think. I honestly do without those goals. I literally think
that side's been built around Kane though for a very long time. It's designed to supply that man. You know what I mean? I'm not taking nothing away from him, but I'm just saying I think we're understating or overstating, you know, like how much more difficult it is what he's done versus Haaland. Like Haaland, to the numbers he's put out, the consistency, the pressure that he's under, and it's not easy in that. So and it's his first season in the Prem as well. First season in the Premier League. He was thrown straight into the.
I understand, mate. I agree, and I'm not. As I say, no argument with that at all. I can see why people have gone for Haaland. I just think when I look at how Spurs have been, I think Kane's been just unreal. Any other season, he's Golden Boot winner by 10 goals, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? It's
well, the way I said before, Liverpool would be down in the relegation battle without Alisson saving us time after time. Where would fucking Tottenham have finished this season without Harry Kane's goals?
Exactly that.
It's fair. Listen, he's had an unbelievable season, man. But for me, Haaland's been an inhumane, so I'm going to go for him, and he's won it. The guys agree. Right wing is interesting. It's between 2.
You guys, I got to bounce.
Yeah, Lou, go on, bro.
Lou, take care, my guy. See you next season.
In a bit, Lewis.
Wait, why are we seeing him next season? He's not great.
Lawless would be nice.
You might not be back yet, mate. You got to win on your final.
June 7th. Let's wait.
Yeah, let's wait. Anyway, 2 votes went for Mo Salah, and everybody else went for Saka. I think that's fair.
On what side? What side?
I wasn't even going to put Salah in there, to be honest. I wasn't even going to do it, but in the end, I did. I wasn't good.
Well, numbers are there for Salah, to be fair to him. It's not like a shocking mention. But I just feel personally, although he's got better numbers over the season than Saka, I think Saka's been more influential. And I think Saka has maybe not got the numbers, but he's created more havoc and he's been more effective in the goals that he didn't create assists for. So, for example, he might pick the ball up in Ben White's position and go mental, and then he might just flick it through to Ødegaard, who flicks it onto Jesus. So therefore, Ødegaard gets the assist. I think Saka has been phenomenal to me this season. He's been incredible. 21 years old.
It's just like it's scary.
Unreal, man. Like, absolutely
Scary.
unreal. So
I put my
Saka was
picks
great.
around the wrong side. Actually, I just took my thing. Actually, on the right, I was actually Rashford supposed to be on the right, and the other player who we haven't mentioned yet was supposed to be on the left. So I put Rashford just because I couldn't. I felt Rashford deserved to be in this team. So, like you said, I've done a little bit of trickery.
Well, let's come to that because you're not the only one to have picked Rashford. So on the left-hand side, it is between 3 players. Yeah. Jack Grealish has got a mention. Can't remember who picked Jack Grealish now. Is it you, Dan? Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's been stunning.
I was going to pick him as well.
I think he's been stunning. I think when he's played in the I've got it here because I thought I better make some notes. He's got 6 assists in 18 games when he's played left wing, and I think he's actually played himself into being a Pep player that Pep trusts now.
I'm sure Trent got 6 assists in 1 month, but who am I just looking?
No, I agree, Errol. I agree, but the difference is Grealish has been consistent over a whole season. Trent didn't turn up till April, so.
There you go.
This guy.
And sit down and eat your fucking cake. That's how it felt. That's how it felt. That's how it felt.
Hey, listen, it's nearly 11 o'clock, Dan. You better start watching the decibel level.
The volume.
Luckily, we're coming to an end, I tell you, because that volume is getting louder. So Grealish got 1 mention. The other 2 mentioned were Martinelli and Rashford. Rashford's had a good season at Man United, man. Really good season. And where would they be without some of his goals? However, I don't think consistently from start to finish he's done what Martinelli's done. And that's why Martinelli has won it by more votes.
I put 1 on either wing just to get them both in there. I had Rashford on 1 wing, Martinelli.
Yeah, you left Saka out. Yeah, I mean,
the thing, what you just said about Rashford, you could just say about Saka if you want. You know
so why have you put Rashford in then?
Because I think he's a great lad. He's fed the homeless.
Yeah, because he's not Arsenal. Okay, yeah, exactly.
No, come on.
You know what, though, with Rashford, I think the thing to remember is, and the word is consistency again. That guy was consistent throughout the season. Considering he's got 30 goals this season, those numbers could have been unreal. Those numbers could have been scary good. I think he's bought into the Ten Hag system. Ten Hag trusts him. And I think we're starting to hopefully see a decent player there, albeit we need it to be consistent. But I think he's been I should have chosen him. Obviously, I'm United, but I had to go with the.
I'm surprised you went with Grealish.
Yeah. No, I just feel like, again, I feel like you have to give it Rashford because he's got 30 goals, but not all those goals are in the Prem. And he really, really didn't start the season great, tailed off towards the end of the season. I don't know. I don't know.
He's got 3 goals in 14 games, Rashford.
Yeah.
That's poor, man.
But he's the only Man United player I picked.
How many goals has Grealish got?
15 goals. No. I think he's got 6 goals, 5 or 6 goals.
The thing is, when I look at Grealish and I look how he's played this season, I don't quantify and I'm a Grealish hater, by the way. I've said he'd flop at Man City, but I don't quantify his performances by his goals.
That's exactly what I've done. That's exactly what I've done.
Different strokes for different folks in it. Like we'll hold one player up by a certain standard, and we won't hold the next player up by the same set of standards.
We're back on Trent.
I wasn't even talking about Trent. But Trent is really in your mindset. I was thinking about other players because we just looked at Salah's numbers, and we've almost
Salah.
No, we've almost all as a consensus disregarded his numbers because we haven't felt his impact has been enough. But all of a sudden, a few step overs, a few half turns one way and a turn the other way, and all of a sudden now you're in team of the season.
But his job is
he's not in team of the season. He's not in team of the season. I picked him. No, I'm the only one who picked him.
Lawless is advocating for him as well.
No, I'm advocating. I was arguing why when we were talking about his numbers, I'm not saying I almost put him in, but I'm saying that Grealish, when you watch how the Man City have been playing, he's contributed a lot without sticking the ball in the back of the net.
That's where I was looking at.
I contribute a lot. Have you not seen? We've been cheerleading all fucking season on stream. I contribute a shit ton to this team.
Really? Well, you're doing a shit job. You're doing a shit job of it because look at your team. Right.
I would say Grealish has had a similar season to like Matoma at Brighton. I wouldn't put him in Martinelli and Rashford level.
Matoma's had a good season. Matoma's had a good season.
I don't know, man.
I considered him.
He's been a good player. He's been a good player, Grealish, but I don't think he's been better than Rashford or Saka. No chance. Sorry,
well,
Rashford
guess what he's got that Rashford and Saka haven't got this season?
A Premier League winners medal.
Premier League.
Oh, so they all get. Well, why are we doing team of the season? Just give it all to Man City players then. No one else.
Well, I'm just throwing it out there. Listen, I'm just throwing it out there. But listen, you got to. I want you to sit here and admit.
Let me ask you the question then, Lawless. Let me ask you.
I have said he's dropped.
Could City have achieved what they've achieved this season without Grealish's impact? Yes or no? Deep it and be honest with me.
I think they would have less points. They'd probably still just win the league.
Grealish has turned up in big games.
He has
him at the Emirates early on in the season. I think early January, whenever it was.
That's a good
Grealish
point.
turned up that day. He was a big player in that game. He almost he effectively won that game for Man City against.
But on the flip side, when you
turned up this season,
but when you're talking about it though, when you look at it, does Man U have the same season they have without Rashford's input, and does Arsenal have the same season without Martinelli or Saka's input?
Does Liverpool have the same season without Nunez's contribution?
Man City, what you can't put.
Are you trying to ban?
I'm joking. Chill.
You cannot put any Man City player in the same conversation. De Bruyne has missed a shed load of games. Foden's missed a shed load of games. Grealish, Mahrez. You could easily put any of those when they played football for Man City in that conversation for anybody. But Pep Guardiola uses his squad very differently to anyone else. You might see, like Kevin De Bruyne, for example, has barely kicked a ball in the last 3 or 4 games. But the rest of him, for that reason, to play him in certain games. Foden for the same reason. Grealish for the same reason. Early on in the season, barely kicked a ball. Then he came into form, and then they used him mostly, and Foden was out of touch. He barely got a kick until the back end of the season. You can't put Man City players in the same box as any other club because Pep Guardiola uses his players so different.
Rotation, man. Rotation.
He does.
Turning up in big games has to count for something, and that's what we have to say about Saka because when it really counted, that's where his drop-off period happened. Obviously, he missed that penalty against West Ham. He had an awful game, the whole game.
He was good against United.
You're looking at the last 6 weeks of the season, bro. He scored a wonder goal against Man United at home. He scored goals against Spurs. He scored goals against Liverpool. He scored goals against Chelsea. United. He scored goals against United. He scored goals against City at the Emirates.
Listen, I like him. I think he's a great player, but I think he was
trying too hard, man. Except he's had a good season. The both of them. The thing is, though, Lawless, right? What you're doing, you're forgetting. You picked Rashford and then said can't pick Saka because he dropped off. Saka scored more goals than Rashford in the last 14 games. What are you talking about? And assisted more.
Yeah, but how many kids did he feed? Do you know what I mean? I just felt like Man United deserved the player in there. No,
my God.
But no, what I'm saying is I didn't pick any Man United players. They got top 4. They've won a cup. I felt I needed.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason you didn't pick them because they ain't been as good as the others.
They haven't been good.
I think I'm not sure if the conversation's already happened, but Guardiola has got manager of the season.
Yeah,
there we go. And I told you he would. And to be fair, he probably does deserve it. But for me, I would have given it to Eddie Howe. There we go. Our team of the season is manager Eddie Howe, Alisson in goal, Trippier right back, Ake at left back, a partnership at the back of Saliba and Diaz, a midfield three of Rodri, De Bruyne, and Erdegaard, and then a front three of Saka, Martinelli, and Haaland. What a side that would be. That would win the league. I'll tell you that now. Good season, bad season, a little bit of a mixture of both. One thing I will say is thank you to you guys, man, because this has been class. To do this first year has been wicked. I've really enjoyed every minute of it. The other guys on the show have been fantastic, but you guys have been superb. You've been reliable each week, turned up when it's needed, sometimes a little bit late, but it's been class, man. And I want to thank you all. Dan, you've been an absolute legend, man. Thank you so much for coming on. We met a couple of years ago. As a Man United fan, I love everything that you represent, man. And I hope that your new channel flies. I'm sure it will. Thank you so much for coming on. This is not... yeah, when is it starting, Dan? Come on.
Starts in a couple of weeks, lads. I've got everything ready.
There we go.
Yeah.
Big up Sam in the chat for the clips.
Yeah, man. Listen, big up Sam.
Get my triumphant
big
clips
Sam
ready,
Sam.
Because listen, we've got to book the show that we're going to do to celebrate West Ham's win. So, but I want an intro, of all the times me saying I'm going to do it. All these lot saying we're not going to do it.
You never said it once. You didn't say it once.
You've been really coy. You've been really coy, mate. You've been really coy.
You mentioned it, to be fair.
I want a beautiful intro. I want these lot, talking shit, doubting me, all of that crap. I just want a beautiful intro, and then we're gonna have a show, and I'm gonna be putting everyone in the mud. You know what I mean? So
this is not the last Race for Europe show. This is the last of this format. There will be in one next season, but these guys will be back for this show after the West Ham lose to Fiorentina, and we will definitely have a chat. I was going to big up Sam and
put that in the clip. Put that in the clip, Sam.
Yeah, you can clip that up, Sam. But a massive thanks to Sam Hart, man, who's been a legend, man, clipping everyone up, doing all the edits, doing all my socials, doing all the clips. Everything you see is down to Sam. I'm not technically good enough to do all that stuff. He has to take massive credit for all that. So big up yourself, Sam. Thank you so much. And all the lads appreciate
Sam, I think what Sam's done to us all this season as well is when we've been giving predictions, when we've been saying stuff afterwards, we've all come off and gone, fuck. That's going to be on a show. That's going to be on the intro. That's going to be on the intro. So well done, Sam. It's been brilliant.
Fair play, man. Welcome to Billy for next season on Race for Europe as well, because he will be with us, seeing as they're now in Europe, as Lawless would like to keep saying. Aston Villa and Brighton will be joining us now. So let's see if Lawless is going to be there. But Dan, good luck with your channel, mate. We will see you anyway. But thanks for coming on and being you, man. Absolute legend. Appreciate it. Errol, likewise. Met you through Grizz Khan's channel, man. And Grizz was one of the guys that I always went to, and as soon as we met, I thought, I'm going to get this guy on, man. So I appreciate you being there, man, and thank you so much for joining me, man.
Yeah, looking forward to the launch of your solitaire channel, where we get to see you obviously playing solitaire, showing solitaire skills. You know what I mean? So look out for the launch of that. He's been you know what I mean? Clubs, diamonds, hearts, all of that. He's a killer.
All of that.
Big up, Errol, man. Big up, Errol.
It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed it.
Legend, man. We'll see you. We'll see you throughout the summer and for the start of the new season. Pete, legend, man. Actually met you through Lawless, funny enough, when they said, I need an Arsenal and Newcastle fan to do something, and then we hooked up, and since then we never looked back, man. Well done for everything you do on Loaded. Thank you for spending time on this channel as well, man. And I'm so glad I invited you on to this channel because, everyone else is in the mud that laughed at me. You're the one laughing now. You're in the Champions League, mate. And I hope you've enjoyed this channel as much as your football season, man.
Love it. I love what we do on this channel. And you boys, you make it. Yeah. With everything we do on Loaded, it's not always easy sometimes making it every week, but I always make a special effort because of the chat we have with you boys. I really, really enjoy it, and everyone in the chat. So looking forward to next season. It's been a pleasure.
All this on a shoestring budget as well, Pete.
It is a shoestring budget for Loaded. That's what I'll say. For Loaded, it is a shoestring budget. So we push out the boat to make sure we're available for 12th man, and we'll do so again next season. That's for sure.
What a guy!
Nice one, man. Nice one. Listen, you're going to see a lot of these boys throughout the summer anyway, in terms of transfer news and debates. But for this format, it will be the last one. Lawless, save the best to last, man. Listen, it's been a mad one with you. I can't lie. I'm flipping a coin thinking, what show do I want him on, this one or the other one next year? I'm not so sure, man. But one thing's for certain is wherever you won't be, you'll be missed. And wherever you are, you'll be loved, man. So much love. It's been a while now, man. I've known you about 4 or 5 years, believe it or not. I was listening the other day thinking, when did I first meet Lawless? And it was that long ago. When we didn't even have this channel and you didn't really do as much, and it's grown, man. So
he was on Claude's channel, I think, was our first.
Yeah, bless him.
Claude's channel, on a channel with Claude, and he was eating his dinner on stream, and
like you always did. Bless him.
Yeah. So no, it's been amazing, right? It's been a crazy season, you know what I mean? And people been doubting me. People been, you know what I mean, saying, "Why is Lawless on this show? Why is he on this race for Europe? Why is a West Ham fan race for Europe?" Guess what? We're about to win the race. We're about to get the gold medal, mate. So
you are, man.
That's a
plot
twist and a half.
You're gonna do it.
That is a fucking plot twist and a half.
Do you know what?
This whole season,
it's mad.
Say that at the end, it's a madness.
All I will say is there will be a clip, good or bad. That's all I'll say. There will be a clip, good or bad. The week after, a few days after, we will all come on, find a time where we can celebrate or send commiserations to you, Lawless. So trust me, it will be happening. I'm not going to lie to you, Dan. I don't really care about Man United, Man City. If I could flip a coin, I probably would go City so I can have a trip to Wembley, only purely for selfish reasons, because that means we'll get to go and play the Community Shield. But I can't actually sit there and say that I care too much. So, but West Ham, he's built it up so much. This is actually bigger than the FA Cup now, according to Lawless. So, this is huge.
I know. Listen, you're more invested. You're more invested in the Conference League final and the FA Cup final. Let that sink in.
Lawless, do you get a Super Cup if you win the
we get entered into, I think, I don't know if this is an idea or this is true, but I think we play the winner of the Europa League and then the winner of that plays.
No, that was me and you thinking that, wasn't it, mate? I think.
Apparently, someone said that's true.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
mate.
Sure
we need to patent that, mate. We need to get money from that.
Yeah, we do need to.
I think there is. You know what I mean? I think that's a great idea.
Man.
So imagine we won a Super Cup. Imagine that.
With a Europa Conference and then a Super Cup, you'll be like, that'll be it.
I'll
never be able to speak to any of you again, man. Let's see what happens. Big up to Lewis as well. I want to thank him for coming every week, even though it was pretty poor from Chelsea. Bless him. He won't be in Race for Europe unless they start to flirt with the top four next season early doors, which is a crazy thing. And last of all, I want to say thanks to Tobes, who will not be back next season. He will be throughout the summer. He will be doing debates. Sava will now be our Spurs rep. Tobes has got way too much on, and he tries, bless him. He's got his Big Six. He's got his own channel, which he wants to try and grow. And he's dropping from this show and from Batisse's and from the others that he's doing because it's just taken over his life, bless him.
Sorry, why are we having a Spurs fan on the Race for Europe?
They won't be on Race for Europe, man. That's for sure. They'll be on the other one. It'll be Sava on the other one. It's crazy, isn't it?
Can I ask a question, Potts?
Go on, bro.
So we know that Lawless is going to be on the Race for Europe if he wins. What show does he go on if he loses?
He'll be going on the other one, my friend, with all the Palace fans and Wolves fans and Everton fans and Fulham fans.
I can't do D every week, man. I can't.
Imagine Lawless and D every week on a show, Pete. Can you imagine? I bet everybody on that show's like, I hope West Ham win this cup. I don't want Lawless and D every week.
Fireworks. Oh my God.
It will be fireworks.
I'm the chat, let alone on the stream.
Everybody just mutes that chat now. Dan and Errol were like, thank God I'm not in that one. I tell you should see some of the stuff that go. You think our one's bad? Oh my God.
What did he say earlier, by the way? Like, because Nottingham Forest and Palace have an alliance, they're basically European champions. They've got European trophy now, Palace.
I don't know what he's talking about. I love D, but he comes out with some wild. He was telling me on this channel that Aguirre, he's 80 million. Elise will cost 70. Eze will cost 75. I'm like, D, you are absolutely clueless. Bless you, mate. I love him. But me and Pete at the start, if you remember, Pete, it was a long time ago now. We had D every week, didn't we, to start with? And then, you got away and you joined this show and you met Lawless.
Lawless backed me. Well, after a couple of weeks, he did back me as a closet Newcastle fan.
And I told you they'd all turn. I told you they'd all turn on you. I tried to warn you earlier.
I didn't turn on him, did I? I don't think I've turned on you, Pete.
You haven't turned on him yet, but Potts started to turn a little bit. He showed his nasty side when they played Arsenal, and he didn't like it. Started calling them. Started having a go at him for time wasting and dirty tactics, all of that. Really salty.
If anything, Pete turned on me after one too many branders, if you remember.
Oh, That was the best show. That was one of the best shows.
Christmas special, man. Look, I made special efforts. A Christmas special. Come on.
Imagine putting together a highlights package of the show this season, man. With me some fucking Errol's analogies and fucking.
It's funny you should say that, Lawless. It's funny you should say that because that is exactly what will be coming out in 2 parts. Highlight reels will be coming out for the end of the season. So you all feature. So it's all good, man. It's all good, and you'll look forward to that little clip up. And big up to Sam for doing that as well because I can't take credit.
Next season we'll be back. Watch this.
Well,
space.
It is going to be a big summer.
Man.
It is going to be a big
The
summer.
shoulders will be back. Trust me.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll be on that show with D every week.
We only saw the real Errol for 3 weeks this season when he thought they were coming back to top 4. All the way through it, he's been proper nice and it's just I'm humble. And then when he gets to sniff of it, he's like, "You fucking, we're coming for you, and you."
Yeah. Legends, boys.
You missed the super chat, by the way, Potts. By the way, before we go,
did I?
Yeah.
How far back was that? Oh no, I did put it up.
Did you?
Yeah. It was about Xhaka at Arsenal. This guy's not happy with Arsenal mediocrity. This one, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Arsenal supporters wanting Xhaka. Yeah, I did put it up. I didn't want to start reading it because at the time we were talking about something completely different. But there we go. Big up everyone in the chat, man. This show has been lit. We're going to be back tomorrow night for the other guys coming on for their last show as well. Same time tomorrow evening, Wednesday at 9. Make sure you're there. Make sure you do us a favor. We're creeping up slowly to 10K, man. So I'd love to try and get that over the summer if we can do. Make sure you like and subscribe. Yes, Dan?
Just a quick one. Errol, Pete, which one of you's making the bed in that bed sit, lads?
Errol's on the floor, man.
Yeah, it looks like
when it comes to top 4. Whoever got top 4 got the top bunker.
Do that.
Potts, you missed the trick there. You should have had them next to each other.
I should have, man. Yeah, I'll tell you.
Pete with that vest looks like he's a top bunk guy. He's like, no, you're on bottom, Errol. You're on bottom.
Yeah. Lawless,
honestly,
not wrong, bro.
Man.
Oh my God, the shadows match as well. They're moving the same time.
Yeah. It's mad. Listen, people, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you all so much for enjoying this show. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. Thanks for joining us. We will go and see you next time. To see us out, Lisa's got a request. Lawless, can you give us your Toon accent just for shits giggles one more time, please? As you say goodbye to everybody and tell them to hit the like button on the way out.
Well, bloody thank you for watching, man. And hit the like button and smash that bloody like button, man, with the Geordies. And West Ham are going to win the Conference League, man. We're going to win it, man. Why the Hammers?